Hey everybody, we are back. It was like Keystone Cops. You didn't want to see what was going on there. You do everything, you think you get everything right, then you remember something at the last minute, and I did. Thank you for joining us today, the Q&A Live, and this really is live. I wanted to make you aware of one thing though. Please, if you get a chance, make sure that you watch the video that's below here. Young man Jacob, that's a part of our Debunk Nation, he just put a short video out, and I'd say take a look at that. It's very encouraging. We ask you to pray for us because we've got to reach this next generation. We've got to encourage them. We've got to equip them. We've got to get them out doing something. So please pray for the whole Debunk Nation team. Watch that short video and hopefully be encouraged, because today what we're talking about actually is impacting that generation. And so I'm calling this social media and smart devices. Is it really having an impact on the younger generation? And I would say yes, that it is. Now, let me give you a lesson here. In the midst of all this coronavirus thing that we got going on, we need to learn from the dinosaurs. I mean, take a look at T-Rex. He couldn't wash his hands. He didn't make it, okay? So make sure you're washing your hands. My wife's been on me, on the grandkids. Wash your hands. We got to wash your hands. And especially after you use a smart device. Yes, they're dirty and that sort of a thing. But here's the real problem with them. It's not just the external germ factor. There's an internal thing that's happening as well. And so that's what we're going to cover. I actually did this a couple of weeks ago for a group of, it was a bunch of leaders in a community leaders. One was a mayor, one was a treasurer for the city, the whole works. So there were secular folks there, there were Christians there. And they asked me to address this issue, and I did it. And so I thought, well, I'd share it with you guys, because it's kind of scary, to be real honest with you. Smart devices, how popular are they? Well, here's research that I found, and you can verify it for yourself. 1 in 4 teens are mostly internet users. So 25% of the youth are connected through the social media with the phones, and the numbers that they have are massive. Massive. And is it having an impact? Well, teen social media and technology. Take a look at some of the quotes that I found here. These are from the younger generation that, to me, struck me. I mean, it was people can say whatever they want with anonymity, and I think that this has a negative impact. Yeah, it's having an impact on folks that are making these comments. How about this one? Because teens are killing people all because of the things that they see on social media, or because of the things that happened on social media. So it's having an impact. And another quote was, gives people a bigger audience to speak and teach, hate, and belittle each other. You know, you're going to look at this and say, man, this guy's up here and he's getting ready to bash the internet and bash cell phones, and he's recording this live using a cell phone, and he's transmitting it over the internet. What a hypocrite. And I'm going to say to you, no. I am not going to tell you to throw everything out. I'm not a ban it and burn it guy personally. I'm a guy that says, let's be aware of the impact that a tool is having, and then let's use it. I mean, in this time with everybody being locked up at home, essentially, gosh, we're communicating with a lot of folks. We're communicating now more than we did before with all of our daily things. The numbers are through the roof on people that are viewing. So it is a tool that can reach people with good stuff as well. We're just saying that be aware, there's bad stuff. I mean, take a listen to this last quote. Half of the teenage girls, 50%, are near constant online users. And this is going to tie into what I'm talking about. There's a lot of using going on, and what are the effects that it's having? Because there are effects. And here's another headline. And by the way, I'm using all secular sources in this. You know, I made a decision that I want to try to use secular sources to show that the world even understands that these things are having an impact, and we need to make a decision as a Christian that we have to make changes in our lives, possibly. So here we go. Negative effects of social media on teenagers, youth, or adolescents. And these were the things that were listed as happening. Facebook depression, anxiety, stalking, cyberbullying, sleep deprivation, lower self-esteem, social isolation, impractical expectations, poor concentration, decreased activity, internal addiction. Now, those are 11. There's one more that I'm going to get to. But those 11 things right there, I want you to think about what those just by themselves are doing to a younger generation. And then let me bring in another lady and have her give you a quote as to from her perspective, what she's seen. Norway, the Bergen Facebook addiction scale was developed in response to research showing that addiction to social media is proving to cause the same damage in the brain as addiction to alcohol and cocaine, and is as addictive as drugs, alcohol, and chemical substance abuse. Here's my point to you. As a parent and a grandparent that we're engaged with our children, our grandchildren, if there was a child that we had any influence over that had a drug addiction, an alcohol addiction, we would do everything in the world that we could to get them off of it. We would. You know that. I know that. We're putting the drug in their hands, and we're paying for it. And watch as she continues on, and she says this: teens are exposed to 8.5 hours on average of electronic media per day. According to the Archive of General Psychiatry, this increased simultaneous exposure to electronic, think about this, increased simultaneous exposure to electronic media during the teenage years is associated with an increase in depression and anxiety. And now, here's where I'm going with this. The number one cause of teenage suicide is anxiety and depression. The number one cause of anxiety and depression in teenagers is the smart devices and social media. This is why I'm saying to you, we are putting the drugs into their hand that is having a major impact. That 12th item that was listed as the top things that are having an impact is suicide. And there's a direct connection between the depression and the anxiety and the suicide. I just pulled this one up before coming on and talking with you guys. Youth suicide rates are on the rise in the United States. I mean, while suicide was the 10th most common cause of death among Americans of all ages in 2017, it was the second leading cause of death among young Americans ages 15 to 24. It's the number 2 killer of teenage girls in America, period. And we're the most Christian, quote unquote, nation on the planet with all the Christian shirt, shoes, music, and TV, and all the movies. And I mean, we got Pure Flicks, and we got all these things that are positive, but we see this negative happen with the younger generation. How can that be? And I'm going to say to you is because even in the church, we have allowed a foot in the door and a drug to destroy our children. Let me take you to another secular person. It's a 22-word title. I won't read you the whole title, but if you'd like to read the book, which I would highly, highly encourage you to do, her last name is Twenge, Twenge. She's the head of the psychiatry department at San Diego State University, if I'm not mistaken. And her book is a 22-word title, but just look for iGen, like iPad, letter I, Gen, IPAD, yeah, iGen, Twenge. And this is what she found. The research that she did there was very impressive and very humbling and very scary, to be real honest with you. 3 hours of screen time a day increases the chance that a teen will be at risk for committing suicide. 3 hours of screen time a day. Guess what? We just read that average is 8.5 hours. And if you want to take it to another level, if you take into consideration multitasking, younger generation is much better at multitasking than my generation. I'm multitasking right now. I'm talking and moving my hands. That's why I failed to start this thing on time. I multitasked and didn't do it right. I forgot to bring something in. This younger generation is much better at multitasking. They're walking, they're talking, they're texting, they're doing 3 or 4 things at a time, okay? 11 hours of media if you take into account the multitasking. That's the average time a younger generation is filling themselves up with something. 3 hours increased chance of suicide. They're taking in anywhere from 8 to 11 hours. Here's some more quotes for you. I just throw this to challenge you. Rates of teen suicide have skyrocketed since 2011. It's not an exaggeration to describe iGen as being on the brink of the worst mental health crisis in decades. Much of this deterioration can be traced to their phones. This isn't some fundamentalist Christian that's telling you to throw everything out. There is compelling evidence that the devices we place in young people's hands are having profound effects on their lives and making them seriously unhappy. She continues, one of the ironies of iGen life is that despite spending far more time under the same roof as their parents, today's teens can hardly be said to be closer to their mothers and fathers than their predecessors were. Quote, I've seen my friends with their families and they don't talk to them, unquote, Athena told me. She continues, they just say, okay, whatever, while they're on their phones. They don't pay attention to their family, unquote. Like her peers, Athena is an expert at tuning out her parents so she can focus on her phone. Have you experienced this? Have you seen this? Gone to a restaurant, I know not in the last couple of weeks, but prior to that, and you see a family of 4 sitting around a table and all 4 have a device in their hand and not one of them looking each other in the eyes. Not talking to each other. You know, something that struck me yesterday, I think it was yesterday, we were doing a lot of work outside. I'm home, not traveling, so I'm doing the honeydews, right? And I'm working outside, doing yard work. And I was literally blown away by the number of families that I saw walking together. In the 12 plus years that we have lived here, I'm serious when I say I do not believe that in the 12 years prior to what happened day before yesterday, I do not think I saw as many families walking together, riding bikes together, doing some activity outside together as a family unit that I saw in that one day yesterday, the day before yesterday, whatever it was. I was blown out of the water at the number of family units that were doing something together outside. So as a minimum, yes, there's a lot of ugly, nasty things going on. Absolutely. People are getting sick. People are dying. Yes. But you know what? Maybe this was a wake-up call. Maybe this was an opportunity for us to realize how important it is that we spend some time with our children and get them off these devices. Parent, that goes for us too. It goes for me. Look, I'm just as guilty. I've got to be very careful with this stuff. We have to set those times where we're not putting them on. She goes on and she says this: teens who spend more time than average on screen activities are more likely to be unhappy, and those who spend more time than average on non-screen activities are more likely to be happy. There's not a single exception. She continues, if you were going to give advice for a happy adolescence based on this survey, it would be straightforward. Put down the phone, turn off the laptop, and do anything that does not involve a screen. For all of our connectivity that we have right now through social media and the 5,000 friends that I've got here and the 55,000 of the followers over here, for all of this stuff that we have right now, we have a generation that is lonelier now than ever in history. We can't rely on this social media to be the thing that gives us our value and our worth and affirms who we are. Let me show a couple of other pieces to you, because it's not just the suicide thing that's impacting. I think these pieces all tie together. And here's another piece. Stats on teens using social media apps, okay? These are teens. And I've got to put my glasses on here. I'm getting old. I can't see far close up anymore. So here we go. The average age of kids found involved in pornography on social media is, take a guess at this. It's 11 years old. Okay. The second thing, the percentage of kids in the range of 8 to 18 that are involved in pornography. The percentage of kids that are involved in pornography on social media apps. 8 to 18, it's 70%. 70%. How about this question? The percentage of kids sending pictures to anonymous people. I mean, just sending pictures to people they don't know. That's 11%. How about this one? The percentage of teens involved in sexting that are under the age of 18. 80%. The percentage of girls that are pressurized for sexting. 12%. Percentage of girls and percentage of boys admitted that they got unknown sexting messages from email. And that is 38 and 39%. Here's some just stats for you on this whole sexting pornography, child pornography thing, because I believe these two tie together. Once this image goes out and these kids are exposed and mocked and ridiculed. Okay. Stats on sharing of private info. More than 104 million child porn photos have been found on social media apps by the U.S. National Center for Missing and Exploited Children since 2002. 104 million child photos. You know where they got most of those photos? It's sad. In 2013, 23 million online images were found, an increase of over 30% in 1 year. In 2019, tech companies reported over 45 million online photos or videos of children being abused. And roughly half of them, according to Australian research, half of them came from social media sites. These young folks putting them up themselves, and these predators finding them and spreading them. So be careful. 82% of online sex offenders use social media sites to figure out what a kid likes and dislikes before initiating contact. 65% of online sex offenders use social media to gather information about a victim's home and school. Guys, this is a battle. This is an ugly area. You've got to get engaged in it. I found this. This is a real advertisement that the police put out. Parental warning: monitor children's activity on these popular social media apps and games. I went through and I looked at these apps because I wasn't familiar with a lot of them, and some of them I would never become familiar with other than after doing research, because the things that they're doing are bad. But some of them are on here that you may have seen, you may even use, and you may even let your children use. You've got Facebook. That's a common one. Guess what? That's a big area where the predators are reaching this younger generation. Fortnite? Minecraft? Yes. This is a legit advertisement from the police saying, look, you better be aware of these apps. These are the tools that predators are using to reach your children. So, what can we do? Carl, you're beating us up, you're making us feel bad, and I honestly, genuinely am not trying to do that. To me, we become aware of an issue, then we deal with it. Well, the first thing that we cannot do, and I say this to you in all sincerity, I'll cover some things that we can do, but some things that we cannot do. The first thing that we cannot do is not get engaged and not get involved and just let it lie. You can't. This is too important. Maybe you don't understand this area. There are good ministries out there that will help you with this. There are individuals. I guarantee that within the majority of churches across our country, because every church I've spoken at, and I bring this up, there's somebody that's involved in IT or something like that that can help you in this. Go to them. But here's some things that parents can do. Number one, monitor social media activities of your children. Yes. Get involved. You can't let them just go do these things on their own. If they're going to be on there, you need to be actively involved with them. Number two, fight to require social media dating apps to strictly prohibit teens under the age of 18. Look, if you want to get radical about something, let's get radical about restricting these things that are, first of all, you shouldn't let them in. But let's go after these things that are being used to destroy kids anyway. So let's go after them. Use the law to restrict these things. Put some burden on them to quit doing what they're doing. How about this? Reduce the use of smartphones of your children by attracting them to healthy activities. Guys, I'm telling you, I saw more families walking and riding bikes. Praise God. Make that a norm. Make that the new norm. How about this one? It says that you can only allow your children to use the phone, computer while in your presence. Yeah, why not? Oh, my children, they'll get angry at me. They'll tell me that, oh, you don't trust me. Yes, you're right. I don't. And it's not only that I don't trust you. I understand the power that Satan has because I've experienced it. And every one of us needs someone that is going to help us to stand firm with this craziness. How about this? Utilize spying apps for viewing the list of installed apps or remove or pause any app remotely on your child's phone. Yes, why not? Use the technology that is there to help you understand where they are, where they're spending the time, and what's impacting their lives. Use it. It's a tool that you can use. And here's another one. Install software on your children's phone to block apps that you want to protect them from. So let me give you just a couple of softwares here to wrap up, because there are things you can do. You can get engaged, or you can use something like Bark. This is a service that I found that really helps you track what's going on in your child's life when it comes to the social media, the emails, and all those types of things. Here's a software. $9 a month for the whole family. I mean, $9 a month for the whole family. That's a small investment that you can do. Covenant Eyes. I sat through a presentation by the vice president for Covenant Eyes, and I thought that this was one of the most powerful tools that I'd ever seen. It's something to take a look at. It's got great tools on there. Another one is Circle. Circle is a software that also all the smartphones, all the computers go through you. You have the power. You know where people are spending their time, how much time, where, when, and you can restrict it. You only get this much time. You've got all that power. And if you're somebody that travels, like I used to, you can get something called Circle Go, which you can take that with you wherever you go and have that information. And maybe you're in a position where, look, I can't afford anything. Well, then here's a free option. I can't pronounce it, Custodio, but it's a service that will give you some help in monitoring what's going on. It's a way to get involved. Find somebody in your church that can help you with the installation and that sort of a thing. Now, maybe you legit have a problem. Your child has a problem. I did this. I did a real talk, a deep talk on this in Georgia, and I had a 13-year-old girl that turned to her mother in the middle of the service and gave her mom the cell phone and said, "Here, Mom, I don't need this. I have a problem with it." And so maybe there's some recognition there. There are times when we're going to have to look, just flee. The Bible says flee. That's what's wicked, right? And if this is something that's really causing you to fall and stumble, you need to flee, then here's an option. It's a walkie-talkie that you can carry with you, and you can still communicate. You can still know where your child is. They can talk to you. You can talk to them. So there are options. But the number one option is to get involved. You have to choose that. You have to make that decision. So is social media, are smart devices impacting the younger generation? No doubt about it. Absolutely. Can we just stand by and not get involved with it? No, you can't. So guys, I give this to you. I encourage you to get involved. I encourage you to make the changes that need to be made. Yes, they're going to be painful to begin with, but I know from experience that you make that call, and then over time, that becomes the new normal. So make your new normal one of not letting this device destroy this younger generation. Control it. Don't let it control you. So I hope that helps. Make sure you put your comments below. Make sure you give us some questions that you want us to address. We're doing this Monday through Friday. Pray for us. We are trying to do our best to stay engaged with folks and encourage and equip you. So there you go. I welcome your feedback. But until next time, stay bold.